please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You don't have to do it. You could do it if you wanted to.
As required by Section 84-1412, subsection A of the Nebraska statutes, notice is hereby given that a copy of the Opens Meeting Act is posted for your examination on the wall inside the door to the City Council chambers. And before we have roll call, I'd just like to welcome all of our guests to tonight's meeting. Could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Here.
Shepherd,
Here.
Graves,
Here.
Alexi,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Could we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
A motion by Mark, seconded by Clay to approve the agenda. Could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Could we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Kevin to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the city council meeting from March 17th, the monthly treasurer's report from February of this year, special designated licenses that were administratively approved, which is the Ridge sponsoring the Circle of Light fundraiser at the Dawes County Fairgrounds on April 11th, Wilds Bar and Grill for wedding reception at the Dawes County Fairgrounds on May 31st, Wilds Bar and Grill for wedding reception at the Chadron Arts Center on May 31st, Wilds Bar and Grill for the wedding reception at the Chadron Arts Center on June 28th. Any questions, comments? If not, could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We have members of the SWAP Club, if you would be willing to come up and read the proclamation. I think it's a required thing that we get the right one.
Yeah, no problem. Sure.
Okay? So just do all the whereases.
Whereas nationally, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience some form of sexual assault in their lifetime. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month draws attention to the fact that sexual violence is a widespread and has implication for every community member. And whereas there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence through prevention education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done to prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors. And whereas anyone can be a leader in preventing and ending sexual violence. As employers, educators, parents, and friends, we all have an obligation to hold the basic principle that every individual should be free from violence and fear. And whereas we encourage every person to start conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, and how to help survivors connect with services and to speak out against harmful attitudes and actions.
Therefore, I, George Klein, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month of the City of Chadron. As mayor, I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Chadron to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of sexual assault, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Dated the 7th day of April, 2025. City of Chadron, George W. Klein, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have nice, pretty copies of this, so I will pass them down to the clerk if I can get the right ones. For distribution. Okay. Moving right along, item C is a proclamation for Public Transit Week. Julie, would you please?
Thank you. I'll start reading. Just
Yes.
start reading.
Yes.
Okay, Public Transit Week, April 6th to the 12th. Whereas public transit provides Nebraskans access to medical, business, employment, social, and supportive services. And whereas public transit allows individuals to remain independent, contributes to economic development, reduces traffic congestion, decreases carbon emissions, and improves rural and urban mobility. And whereas public transit provides the only public transportation service to many of the smaller towns and rural counties in Nebraska. And whereas public transit professionals are respected and admired for their efforts, but are rarely recognized for their dedication and service due to their commitment to remain behind the scenes to ensure that they keep the Nebraskans moving. And whereas 15,686 rides were provided by the Chadron City Transit Program, averaging 1,307 passengers each month in Chadron during the calendar year of '24. And whereas Nebraska has numerous public transit employees who provide service to Nebraskans and must maintain stringent educational requirements and standards. And whereas the Nebraska Association of Transportation Providers recognize the important role that public transit professionals play and wishes to acknowledge that role. And whereas public transportation in the state is provided by the collaborated efforts of the Nebraska Department of Transportation and Federal Transit Administration to provide resources to transport individuals every day.
Now therefore, I, George Klein, Mayor of the City of Chadron, Nebraska, do hereby congratulate the Chadron City Transit Program on its 44 years of service to our community's citizens and proclaim the week of April 6th through the 12th, 2025 as Public Transit Week in the City of Chadron. And I do hereby urge all citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of their local transit systems and the many services provided. Dated this 7th day of April, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a motion to approve free rides and give away 5 free city transit passes during Public Transportation Week to promote the city transit program.
So,
Needs to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve that item as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Kevin and seconded by Clay to approve free rides and give away 5 free city transit passes during Public Transportation Week. Any discussion? You want to make your presentation?
I wanted to just highlight our events for this week, if I may, and an open invitation to all the council members and the mayor to ride on transit, maybe tomorrow in your hippie attire, which would be fun. I don't normally look like this, sorry. This is a Walmart special in 5 minutes. So, today, of course, we had, you tell people, you go do your shopping, let the transit do the driving, and come ride with us. So it's kind of a moot point right now. You can enter a free drawing if you're riding on the bus to win a card for 20 rides for 22 rides. It's normally $20 for 22 rides. So we'll do a drawing of 5 for those. And tomorrow, Tuesday, is hippie attire day, and it'd be kind of fun to do that. I also invited the entire radio station to join it, talk to Dennis, so I don't know if they announced that in their meeting, if they're gonna do that or not. Driver Appreciation Day, if you do ride the bus, or even if you know the drivers, if you can just thank them for their efforts, for what they do with the buses and all. They love everybody and everybody loves them, so just kind of tell them too that, hey, thank you. Wednesday is Everybody Rides Free. And normally, if you ride the bus, it's, as you step on the bus, it's $1. Or if you have a pass, you get 22 rides for the, it doesn't expire your card. So nobody has to pay on Wednesday, so that's a good thing. Thursday, save on gas, take the transit. Again, let us do the driving around town, and you can see, you know, the town from a different view from the bus. And Friday, can't forget Friday. It's our open house down at the transit office on 127 West 2nd. We do our free hamburgers. We're serving from 11 to 1. I must say they're better than Runza hamburgers, so they're very good. You have to come have one. And come down there and just say hi and get a hamburger. And that is it. Thank you. And thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions about taking actions on the items to the free rides and the free city of transit passes? If not, could we have a roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Olexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Okay, moving on the agenda, item E, proclamation for National Public Telecommunicators Week.
Thank you. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week will be April 13th through 19th. And whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent on the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Dawes County 911 Communications Center. Whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most crucial contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety, and whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Chadron Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year.
Therefore, I, George Klein, Mayor of the City of Chadron, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th through the 19th, 2025 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Chadron in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Signed the 7th day of April, 2025.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you. It's a pleasure to serve y'all and keep everybody safe.
Oh, yeah. Well, we appreciate your manning those consoles down there at the police department. Okay, moving on to item F on the agenda.
I'll introduce resolution 2025-28 and move for its approval.
I'll second. Go ahead, Clay.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, seconded by Clay, to approve resolution number 2025-28 to recommend award a bid for the 2025 chip seal project on First Street from Main Street to King Street, and Second Street from Oak Street to Spruce Street, excluding Main Street, to 100 and 200 blocks from Pine Street to Spruce Street, excluding Main. And we have our street superintendent and,
I'm Adam Bath from MC Schaff and Associates.
okay, tell us about this.
So we opened up bids last Tuesday. We had one bidder. It was it Tuesday or Thursday? Sorry. Tuesday, yep. We had one bidder, Midwest Coatings out of Iowa. They were a little higher than what was expected. I guess there's a couple reasons for that. Just availability of materials, and then kind of working with new contractors on this. So historical numbers may be a little skewed from that aspect. Reviewed the bids, didn't see anything other than discrepancies in price and recommend award. And we've kind of worked with the city staff to kind of scale down the project, eliminate some streets, and that's kind of what's represented on the new map. I can answer any questions you may have. But that's kind of what was proposed from the city staff after we opened up the bids and kind of saw prices and what we could do with the given budget.
So the few streets that were deleted off of the map are they in better shape? What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, I think Dustin kind of can speak to
Yeah,
that as
so-
well.
So the section on Second Street was the newest section that was redone from Shelton to Cedar, to Cedar. That's all new pavement. I don't know what year. It's few years back, but that's all still good. And then the 200 blocks on Cedar, Cedar and Chapin.
And Shelton.
King, Shelton, yeah, all those are still technically savable and can wait until we do our next chip seal project. And then the section from from Main to King, we're just gonna have to keep plugging away at patching on that one. We just tried to eliminate the best ones that are still drivable with the least amount of potholes in order to save as many streets as we could, so.
I might add to that, we're working on a water main project on Ann Street as well, so rather than, originally it was supposed to be on the east side when we looked at this and kind of had to move things to the west side, so you'll be cutting across that, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that with new chip seal and then come back and tear it up, so.
So does the city have to do any preliminary work before the chip seal?
Dustin's been working on that, just patching and
Yep,
preparing
patching,
for this.
and then we're gonna start spraying, and then on
Spraying.
weeds and cracks and stuff, and then, actually on the 26th, we are gonna have big event kids help us get dirt and stuff out of the gutters and throw it out onto the street, so our street sweeper can actually pick it up. So, we're doing everything in our power to get ahead of the chip seal project.
So we're, just so I get this straight, we're patching the potholes or holes. Are we grinding down any of the,
No, there'll be no grinding.
So chip seals, they won't improve your ride.
okay.
So it's basically a maintenance thing, so you're trying to seal the moisture from getting into the subgrade and making it worse. It's not, I mean, a lot of them are pretty bad shape, and they do need probably a little more work than what's provided, but this is a good way to just maintain what you have and not make it worse, so.
Keep moisture out.
Yeah, that's the goal with any pavement, is to keep the moisture out of the subgrade, and that's when it starts deteriorating, so.
This the same company that we had do Main Street?
No,
They didn't put a bid
So
in.
that was Top Coat.
That was top.
And Top Coat's been the industry standard for our area for 20 years. The owner decided to retire. I think he announced it in November. So his son, who was always who I've worked with for 20 years on these projects, he's now with Midwest Coatings, and we'll work with that. I mean, it's a new contractor, new owner, but kind of similar staff, or familiar staff, I should say. So I've been in contact with, his name's Danny Osborne, throughout this. So I don't foresee a lot as far as changes on that end, but this is, like I said, it's a new contractor, but familiar faces, I guess.
Yeah, and Dan was the lead of the crew that did Maine last year, so.
So I probably wasn't listening close enough, but after looking at it, so on this information that we got, everything that was in the original bid documents was 67,325 square yards. And then we're reducing it by the 15,000 to bring that within the,
Yeah, if we do that,
Budget.
I think we're closer to around what our estimate was 284, and if we reduce that to 15,925, we're closer to 290,000 total with the mobilization fee that was bid. And this oil's different than what was used last year or in years past. So last year was a CRS 2P, and it's an emulsified oil, kind of, I call it a water-based oil, so it has to break before it adheres to the rock. This RC 800R that's bid is rubberized. It's oil-based. It's a stronger oil. It lasts longer. You pay a little more for it up front, but in the end, you're going to get a better product, especially on local streets where you have a lot of turning motion. It holds the rock better, and you don't have the issues with it peeling off as bad. So
With one bid, only one bid coming in, is that because there's just not a lot of people doing
So,
this product?
yeah, the contractor, I mean,
Or are they,
Dakota Asphalt was a plan holder. They're out of Sturgis or Blackhawk, South Dakota. They were a little concerned with, the one thing with the RC 800R oil, it has jet fuel in it, so it's a little more dangerous to work with, and not everybody's comfortable. And then availability of the oil, it comes from Iowa, is the closest place. So when I talked to them on the phone during the bidding process, that they kind of bowed out because of that oil. But we kind of talked it over with the staff, and I just think long run, you're gonna get a better product with that, oil, so. So, yeah, I guess long answer
Yeah.
is,
Well, I
or short
did-
answer is the
I
oil
did-
is kind of the factor on that.
gotcha. I didn't know if it was like, we got one bid because everyone's just booked out.
No, chip seals are kind of becoming harder and harder to get bid.
Gotcha.
So, when Top Coat first sent the letter that they were closing down, I was a little panicked with
Right.
what we were gonna move forward, but, so.
Shane, in the past, the only bidders we've had is Top Coat and Simons, and Simons isn't bidding anymore.
Oh, gotcha.
But Top Coat has been our successful bidder ever since I worked for the city.
Right. And you said that guy's just
He-
retiring?
He retired right after he got done doing our project.
Yeah, our cracks.
We got a letter,
Oh,
like a week later, saying, I'm going out of business.
Ah,
And
Yeah, so our crack seal job on Third was their last project.
oh, wow.
so the new company, they acquire all that, because they had pretty good equipment
Yeah.
when they were in
I
here.
think, some counties, I know Morrill County bought up a bunch of their equipment, and
Did
they're gonna
they?
try
Oh.
doing it themselves, and
Oh,
so I know that they're still, I talked to John Brockman, owner of Top Coat, a few weeks ago, and they're still trying to sell off some of their stuff, but, I think the new contractor's been in business. I've talked to Jebro, who's the oil provider, and they were one of the names that say they do good work, so I don't foresee having too big an issue with the familiarity with Danny. We have a pretty good working relationship, and he kinda knows where we stand with things and moving forward from that.
We certainly know that we gotta get it done.
Yeah.
I was real
They're all in need.
encouraged last fall when Janet saying that you drove around the town and said, we can patch these potholes and then put this sealer on and it'll last
Well,
hunky-dory, and then we get this and said, ooh.
yeah, I was a little taken back by the price, but it's, like I said, the long hauls and rock availability this year has been pretty hard to come by, so it's a bigger chip than what was used on Main Street
Yeah.
as well. And so we're still working through that a little bit.
And you leave it on longer?
Yeah,
before it
I
lets
always
out?
recommend at least 30 days. This oil will take up that loose stuff and then sweep it and should be good to go. So the more traffic you get on it, the better. So you're gonna have some complaints probably from residents saying, you know, when are you gonna sweep this up? But you're
Right.
better off leaving it at least for 30 days.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if you've noticed, they're not even gonna start until August 1.
Oh. Well, that'd be good for, since college comes back, more traffic.
For trade days.
Yeah.
So we'll run everybody, or detour down those roads.
Make a parade.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yep, thanks for coming up.
any other questions? Could we have a roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item G, someone care to introduce that resolution?
I'll introduce Resolution 2025-29 and move for its approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Kevin and second by Clay for resolution number 25-29, which is to recommend award a bid for construction of ADA restrooms at the downtown plaza. Janet will tell us what's going on.
Okay, as you have in your, as you got in your Spark and you have on your tablets, we had two bidders with this project. Fuller Construction at $278,817 and KL Wood at $290 even. Engineer's estimate was $250,000. We're recommending that we go with Fuller Construction at the $278,817. But then, as you know, the next agenda item is a change order. We did some value engineering with Fuller Construction on several different line items to get it down and get it closer to the engineer's estimate. And I'll go over that with the next agenda item.
Okay, any council members have any comment or questions for Janet on the initial? Do you have any idea why there are only two bidders on something like this? Or-
We only had three that actually took the plans out. We only had three general contractors. The third one was Paul Reed
I'll read.
was the third one. It sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money for no bigger than the building is, but it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's a small project. The other thing that might have scared them away was the timeline. It has to be done by September 1st. So that could have been something else that kind of pushed them away.
Okay.
And the Davis-Bacon. There are contractors that don't like to have anything to do with Davis-Bacon
Davis
because it makes them do some reporting that they don't like to do.
Davis Bacon or getting bonded and stuff.
Yeah, smaller contractors, the bonds probably chase them away.
Yep.
Okay. If there are no other questions, could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, item number H on our agenda.
I'll introduce resolution 2025-30 and move for its approval.
I'll second that.
Motion by Clay, seconded by Mark for resolution 2025-30, which is to approve change order number 1 for Fuller Construction LLC for construction of the ADA restrooms at the downtown plaza. Janet will tell us what's going on.
Okay, so now this change order is for the amount of $18,445. So that would bring the contract price down to $260,372, which, like I said, will get it closer to the engineer's estimate of $250,000. The things that we value engineered, the very first one was the city will move the shed that is there that we're storing things in. So that was a little over $2,000 that we took out of the contract. We had in the original bid that the veneer would be the stack stone that you see that's popular, like Taco John's, that's a stack stone. And who knew that that's more expensive than brick? So we are actually going to a brick veneer on the building instead of the stone. And so that was a change order that is gonna save us $5,600. Taking out the glass transom above the two doors. I thought that natural light in the building would be very, very nice, but by taking it out, we're saving $6,500, $6,555. The other thing that we did some value engineering with the electrician, changed out the type of light fixtures, which saved us quite a bit of money, but then we had to add back in the fact that we didn't have vents in the original contract, exhaust vents, and we didn't have thermostats on the heaters. So we had to add back a little money that we were taking out. And also, we're painting the columns rather than having steel, stainless steel columns.
Galvanized.
Galvanized columns. And we're gonna paint them instead. So those 5 items are saving us $18,445. There was one other item that they had put in there that could have saved us $3,200 by removing the screen partition in front of the doors going into the bathrooms. Tom and I talked about that. We opted to keep that in because we thought that that was something that was necessary in the project, even though we could have done it at a later date. We will never go back and do that. So we kept it in the contract for $3,200. So like I said, it got us to within $10,000 of the original engineer's estimate. So the only local contractor other than Fuller Construction on the project is Scott Roberts Electric. Tridal Plumbing out of Alliance is the plumber. The mason contractor is out of Scotts Bluff, as is the roofer. So.
Anyone have any other questions about?
Seems like a good cost compromise, but not necessarily quality, just finding the savings.
Yep, we talked it through on several different things. I had a couple ideas that got shot down. They had a couple other ideas that Tom and I didn't want to negotiate quality, as you said, for money. So we tried to make it as maintenance-free as as possible without giving up on the quality.
So, question real quick. Are there lights outside the doors?
Yes, there are 3 lights in the overhang of the project.
Of the, kind of where the screen,
On the
between
canopy.
the screen?
Mhm,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep. Thought that'd be a shadow area for the
Yep.
streetlights.
Yes. And we did put an outlet out there also. We figured that the way that they like to decorate that plaza, they might want to hang some
Oh, yeah.
Christmas decorations on it also. Something that Great Plains will probably have to help with.
Okay,
Or Dustin.
no other questions? Can we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Biloxi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Okay, moving
you.
on to item I. Someone care to introduce?
I'll introduce resolution 2025-31 and move for its approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Shane, second by Kevin for resolution number 2025-31 is to recommend a consultant to update the existing comprehensive plan to include an energy element. Janet can tell us what
I
this
think,
is
I
about.
think Councilmember Mark Graves will get to talk mostly about
Okay.
this. I'll just be here for support.
Great. So we only had, for the comprehensive plan, we only had 2 bidders on that. One was Tallgrass Landscape Architecture out of Custer, and the other was Ayers and Associates out of Cheyenne, I believe they are.
There are out of, several different communities in Wyoming.
So there was 4 of us that had grading sheets and had different categories that were weighted differently. There was Janet, Tom, Katie, and myself. We graded them, submitted our grade sheets to Janet. She tallied the numbers, and Ayers was the one that had the most value. Tallgrass was, I thought both were very similar in what they proposed. Tallgrass was substantially over our budget. I think that was one of the big grading discrepancies between the 2 of them. And then we've worked with Ayers with the Brownfield grant. So I think there was some familiarity with that as well. And they were within budget.
Tanya Olson from Tallgrass called and talked to me, I believe it was last Friday, might have been Thursday. She had her weeks mixed up. She thought that it was gonna go to council last Monday instead of this Monday. And she asked, once I told her it was coming to the council this Monday, she asked if I could tell her what what the committee's recommendation was, and I did. I told her that Ayers and Associate was the selection committee's recommendation to the council. However, it wasn't final until the council actually voted on it. And I told her what Mark had just said, that they were substantially higher in their fee structure than Ayers and Associate was. And she said, well, we kind of thought that that might be the issue because they had to bring on an outside consultant to do a lot of the planning portion. So she wasn't surprised when I told her that. And she thanked us for, allowing them to go through the process. So like I said, she wasn't surprised that they were higher than their competition.
Anyone have any other questions, comments about it?
Well, I think the last comprehensive plan was done 10 years ago, is that correct?
Correct.
So I spoke with Custer, and they said that that was, and Box Elder, that about every 10 years is when they renewed theirs as well, so it's time.
It is time, and we've got a lot of things going on right now that I think that with the comprehensive plan, we can bring everything together. The creative districts, the brownfield grant, the trails. I mean, there's just a lot of components that are kind of new in the last couple of years that we can bring everything together into the new comprehensive plan. I think it'll be good.
When's this study gonna be done or finalized?
I wrote into the RFP that I would like to have it done in 12 months. So that, and that's something that we'll write into the contract with Ayers and Associates, so.
But both of their proposals came in that they thought they'd be done before that.
Yes, 9 months is what both of them said.
No other questions? Could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Alexi.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item J on the agenda. Someone care to introduce
I'd
that?
like to introduce Resolution 2025-32 and move for its approval.
Second that.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Shane for resolution 2025-32, which is to allow for temporary use of US Highway 20 at the intersection of US 20 and Main Street for the Lions Club Parade during Fur Trade Days on Saturday, July 12th, 2025, sponsored by the Chadron Lions Club. Anyone have any questions? This is, as I understand it, a requirement from the state of Nebraska that we have this resolution to allow use of the Highway 20 during this period of time.
I would imagine if you voted against this for a parade in Chadron, you wouldn't be on the council for very much longer.
Well, and I have noticed, you know, that we allow use of it, but the officers, the police force that aids in the parade does allow traffic through at breaks in the parade, so people aren't sitting there for an hour and a half waiting to get through town. No other questions? Could we have a roll call, please?
Klein.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Alexi.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the claims.
I think you missed a motion.
Did I miss a motion?
K.
Oh, yes. Number K, I didn't have anything behind it. I need, Austin Stevens has resigned from his position from the problem resolution team, and Christian Miller has submitted a letter stating his interest in joining the committee, so someone make,
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Christian Miller to fill the position on the problem resolution team.
I'll second.
motion by Mark, seconded by Clay, to appoint Christian Miller to the problem resolution committee. Any discussion? If not, can I roll call, please?
Klein.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Alexi.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the claims that are in our information, which including payroll, total up to $428,983.61.
I'll second that.
Motion by me, seconded by Shane, to approve the claims. Anyone have any questions? I did notice, in one of the bills that we are spending a fair amount of money on lights at the aquatic center. Tom, do you have
Yeah,
reason that we'd had to replace a number of lights?
well, it's not just lights, but there were some electrical issues out there at the aquatic center, in which we had Brendan Electric come up there and do it. Yeah, you better come up, Janet, because you were there at the time that he was there.
And Mark knows a little bit about this also. We kept popping a breaker, and the breaker was helping us with our computers. It would shut down our computers and a couple of other things with our IT. But what we traced it back to was it was electrical from the original swimming pool, and it had gone bad in the walls around our original maintenance room. So Brendan had to trace that all back and pull a bunch of wires and rewire some stuff so that we weren't tripping that breaker that had our phones and our IT stuff on for our computers, so our membership system would work. So a large portion of that bill was that. About 2,000 of it was that. But we did have some lights that Mark had to order And we're slowly changing all of our lights over to LED. So the bulbs themselves are quite pricey. And so some of it was lights, some of it was fixing our electrical problem. And there was a third thing on there too. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was minor compared to the other two. So it wasn't all lights.
Okay, anyone have any other questions about claims? If not, could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is we don't need a resolution to exclude the absence of council members since we're all here, which then gives us the public comment period. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda may do so at this time, and individuals are allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak.
I think you gotta take it.
Okay. Please tell us who you are and where you live.
Will do. I do have some pictures. Can I hand these up to council? Thank you. Good evening. Matt Steffel. I live at 715 Lake Street. The matter that I'm coming to chat about tonight, I guess, or is, I know you can't answer questions, but I'd like to discuss briefly, I guess, is the the apartment development that's taking place between 6th and 8th Street on the west side of Maple. Where our house sits, basically our backyard faces up against all that. So that's what we have. The photos that you see here after a couple days of recent wind out on that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is one that the city is awarding TIF financing towards the development of these apartments. And so I guess with that in mind, I believe the way that process works is that the area has to be declared blighted, and then there's been a couple houses bought, torn down in the neighborhood and so on, and then we've moved on to this. I guess my biggest concerns on it are, I'm not a total stranger to housing construction. I did work in that field all the way through college. The timeline on this has been extremely long for the work that seems to have taken place over there. They moved a lot of dirt in. Since then, they dug and poured footings, and then it's been sitting since then with nothing else happening. And as you can see here, with recent winds, there's a lot of dust blowing everywhere. A couple times my wife went out to just throw the ball for the dog in the backyard and basically got brought in because of getting sandblasted out of it. She did stop in here. Mr. Mankey, thank you. She got a call back from you the next day, and a snow fence did go up shortly after that. Thank you for that. As you can see, there's a lot of silt that already blew into the street and so on. They'll have to dig out their footings completely to start doing anything here again. But I guess going into this whole deal, I haven't talked to anybody in the neighborhood that was a big fan of this apartment complex. We all kind of bought there based on lower housing density, kind of a quiet part of town and so on, but that's water under the bridge. Obviously, it's coming. That's not going to stop. But in the meantime, it's a little tough to say that this area doesn't look more blighted today than it did before we started. It's just a complete dirt mess there. Right now, it's a muddy mess. And at the timeline that we've seen so far, I have no idea what we're looking towards or when we might actually see ground cover or stuff going on, or what this is going to do, how long this construction process is going to take. So it's really a lot more of an eyesore than we had there to start with, in my opinion. And just wanted to bring it to attention for those that might not be in the neighborhood on a regular basis. And if you get a chance, come on by, because it's really not something that's helping the town at this point.
Thank you for your comments, and yes, we're aware of it, and we're hoping that the contractor does start work soon.
That'd be
So,
appreciated.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, okay. Is there no one else that has something? City manager report?
Thank you, George. I just got a couple quick things, just to remind people that we are going to be going with a website here that's going to be upgraded. We're hoping to get that beginning here maybe the first part of May, as far as new, hopefully easier to navigate process for our patrons and for anybody that's needing to use any of the information that's out there. I've got several of the staff working on that still. I want to let the council know too that the audio and the video upgrades have been completed for the most part. Wanted to thank Jeff Wing for all the work and effort that he has put into this. I think it's going to help us move into the next phase of some of the things that we have to do. Hopefully we'll be able to get the Channel 19 thing taken care of, but I apologize to the citizens tonight that we weren't able to do that. Technology did not allow us to communicate with the new and the old is our biggest issue. So we're still working on that part, but I think I'm hoping everybody can hear and see this a lot better as we move forward on that. And then the last thing I just want to mention is the natural gas selection is out there right now. And I know we can't advocate for any one of them, but I would, as a person that this is my first year, I've done it personally, there is a difference in those selections. Please take the time to review it and explore the options and decide which one works best for you. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Council closing comments. In my line of work, I've been kind of busy these last couple of weeks, and we'll have a lot of extensions, but that's the way it is. I'd like to acknowledge our friendly reporter, Mark Dykes, has moved over from the newspaper to the Chadron Communications, so we won't see our moonlighter, I guess, unless she's going to moonlight for the paper instead of the radio station. But, and I'll leave it at that. And thanks for all of you coming this evening. So,
I'd like to let everyone know about the big event that the Chadron State College students do. It's April 26th. It's a good way to maybe clean up some things in Chadron in your yards. I know we have a maybe start out fresh, getting those weeds and bushes trimmed in the back alleys. Anyway, I also like to remind people the Circle of Lights is this Friday at 5:30 at the fairgrounds, and it's a good it's a good way to raise money for people with cancer. It's a good event. If you can make it, that'd be great. That's about all I have.
First off, I'd like to thank George for getting my taxes done. I came across a flyer from the USDA Forest Service Department of Agriculture, which is the Civilian Conservation Center's Job Corps, and it was really interesting how much they actually do for our community in the surrounding area. So they are capable of having 171 students and 40 employees. And it says here that just in this last year that well, first off, the trades that they do are welding, bricklaying, carpentry, cement masonry, facility maintenance, painting, and office administration. And the total hours spent by the students just for 2024 was 34,370 hours. And that's broken down into some different areas. But that's a value of student work of over $1 million for the community. So I think it's a very valuable for the students and for the community as well. So I just want to point that out and how much they do for our area, and hopefully they can continue doing that for many years to come. That's all I have.
I don't have much this evening. Enjoy this warm weather. I rode my bike down here tonight. I had to get all the dust off of it. It's been in the garage all winter, so have a good evening.
I just want to shout out to the Chadron Public Schools band and their barbecue fundraiser they had a couple weeks. I really appreciate Mr. Richling when he does that every year. The ribs are always really good, and they always raise a lot of money that goes back to the students. And then the Treasure Chest in the Northwest had their awards ceremony last week. And I'd like to congratulate all those who had their awards and helping promote the Northwest Panhandle. And that's all I've got.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this evening.
I'll second.
Motion by me, seconded by Mark to adjourn. Could we have roll call, please?
Klein,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Alexi,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
We are adjourned.